In this test, I will be testing all 12 of these tyres in the dry, wet, braking, noise comfort and rolling resistance to find out exactly which tyre is best for your own driving needs. As usual, not only do I have tyres from brands like Michelin, Pirelli, Continental and Bridgestone, I have a good spread of mid-range and budget tyres to find out whether in 2026, can we now fit a cheaper tyre and still get all the performance of a premium tyre, or do we still really need to pay that money to get the best quality possible? It should be a really exciting test, so let's get on with the testing. Okay, how are these tyres in the wet? Now, as there are 12 sets, I'm going to go through these kind of in groups and fairly quickly. I will put more information, as always, on the Tyre Reviews website if you really want to dig into how these are subjectively. Now, the slowest tyre on test award goes to Davanti, and this was in a group of its own. It was its own little bubble, significantly behind every other tyre, including the other cheap ones. It was just difficult to drive, it slid around, it had no bite, and you really couldn't get it into the corners or out of the corners. So that's the definite one to avoid of this group. Next up was Bridgestone and Goodride. Now this surprised me. The Goodride subjectively was not as nice as the Bridgestone. The Bridgestone, so when we're talking about subjective handling in the wet, it's less about steering response and more about how the vehicle feels in and around the limit. So if you're in an emergency situation like a lane change, is the vehicle going to be predictable? And with the Bridgestone, it was lovely and predictable. The front axle was stable. You kind of understood where it was going. Whereas the Goodride, although it had a similar lap time, it just wasn't quite as understandable, and I did almost fall off the track on the Goodride. It's the only tyre I did. So Goodride is not yet a good ride, but last time I tested it, it was a terrible ride, and this time it's a below average ride, so they're improving, so that's progress. Then we had the Kleber and the Vredestein. Now both of these tyres were step up in grip, and on the Goodride definitely a step up subjectively, although the Bridgestone, like I said, the Bridgestone was quite nice subjectively, it just didn't have the bite. The Kleber and the Vredestein, they were both actually quite nice to drive. These were like average / above average subjectively. The Kleber almost felt sporty. I've never really enjoyed driving Kleber. They're a Michelin sub-brand, and they've always kind of taken on the Michelin ethos, and that is safe, boring, understeer, but safe. And the Kleber, while it still felt safe, obviously it wasn't a twitchy tyre or anything like that, it actually turned really nicely on this GTI. I enjoyed it. Then we had the Debica, which is a Goodyear sub-brand. Now this was an odd tyre on its first lap. So I do an out lap and then 2 fast laps, and then I come in, and the out lap's fairly long. And on the out lap, and for half of the first lap, it felt like a really cheap tyre. It was sliding at the back, it was difficult to get into the corners. But once it had some heat into it, its second lap was significantly better. And it was the only tyre, like most of the time, my delta between laps is about 1/10 of a second. The Debica was nearly an entire second, and it wasn't my driving. I didn't make any mistakes. So on the second lap, it felt like a really good tyre. On the first lap, it felt like a pretty below average tyre, and it averaged out to be an okay tyre. But I think on the road, especially in cooler conditions, it was about 15 degrees when I tested the Debica, I think it's going to struggle a little bit more. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about that tyre. Its lap time is probably over-promising what you'll get from it on the street. Then you had the Michelin Primacy 5, and this tyre was absolutely classic Michelin. And what does classic Michelin mean? I just touched on it with Kleber. Understeer. And understeer is very safe and easy to control, and the Michelin wasn't trying to fight you, it wasn't trying to be sporty, it just does the Michelin thing very well. As always with the Primacy range, Michelin go for total life performance, and they go for excellent tread life. And I do think that often hurts them in the wet, because it's never the best tyre in the wet, and we've once again proven in this group it was just average like the other tyres around it, but average and safe and very Michelin. Next up was the Maxxis Premitra HP6, and like other Maxxis products I've tested recently, it's done well in the wet. My one quibble with the HP6 was the fact it was just a little bit peaky around the limit of grip, so you'd be turning and suddenly you wouldn't get a lot of notice about the transition or the breakaway of the grip, but it would just start sliding, and then took a little bit longer than the average of the tyres to recover, but its actual grip was excellent, no complaints about the grip. Then we had the Kumho Ecsta Sport, the new one that everyone's been asking me to test. It was a tyre. Like, it's obviously its 4th overall in lap time, so it did a very good job. but subjectively, and this is a good thing, I'm not being negative about the Kumho, subjectively, it didn't give me anything to worry about. I just got round the lap, I got to the end of the lap, I was like, that's a good lap, good job Kumho. I'm impressed with what you've done here. And yeah, good all-round tyre, no real surprises, which is one of the higher compliments I can pay for a tyre. However, the final 3 tyres, the Hankook, the Pirelli and the Continental, these 3 tyres are in a bubble of their own. Like, it's showing that Hankook can definitely mix with the big boys, and it's showing how much better the very top premium tyres are. Let's ignore Bridgestone for a second. Next up, the Hankook, I've basically done it in the order I'm telling you. I went from the Kumho to the Hankook, and I was like, that was a good lap on the Kumho. And then I got on the Hankook, and my voice note at the end, I do voice notes to record my subjective impressions as I get off the track. My voice note was, oh my gosh, that thing was incredible. Like, you just got round the track, it's the Golf GTI, and finally I feel like I'm actually driving and attacking the surface, and the car's going where I want it to go. And yeah, I really enjoyed the lap on the Hankook. It was fabulous. Then I went to the Pirelli and I was like, oh my God, this is even better slightly. It was about half a second on in time, but like the steering reaction was just a little bit sharper and a little bit better. But where the Hankook had quite a wide window between grip and no grip, the Pirelli's was quite narrow. So that's where the Pirelli slightly falls back subjectively. It just wasn't quite, the window between grip and no grip and sliding and not sliding was a little bit smaller than the Hankook. And then I went to the Continental, the PremiumContact 7. Well, I've tested this a number of times. It's great again. The tyre performs admirably. It was a blend of the Pirelli and the Hankook, in that maybe it wasn't quite as direct and as sporty feeling as the Pirelli, but it was slightly more than the Hankook. Again, I'm talking tiny margins, but then it had quite a wide window of sliding. So it was the best all round in terms of lap time. It was one of the best subjectively, and Continental are back at the front in a wet test, shock horror. But honestly, the Continental, Pirelli and the Hankook, these 3 tyres are incredible. Well, you kind of expect it from Continental. The new Pirelli stuff is always at the front in the wet, and Hankook are once again proving they are a legit premium tyre manufacturer. And the Kumho did pretty well as well. Anything below that was fine-ish, but I would like to see more grip to really be an excellent tyre in the wet. But interesting test. Sorry I've talked for so long. Let's get on with something else.
The top 4 in wet braking were the same as the top 4 in wet handling, just in a slightly different order, which happens when everything is this close at the top. I also ran a wet circle test, which further confirmed the top 4. You can see the data on the Tyre Reviews website. In the deeper water of the aquaplaning test, the Hankook, Michelin and Continental all performed excellently, with a shout out to the Debica winning the curved aquaplaning test.
Okay, dry handling. Now I'm going to try and talk about this very, very quickly, as I talk so much on wet handling. I'm very sorry about that. The short version is the Goodride and the Davanti were bad. Now, the Goodride should, in time, I averaged 2 laps, it should have been a little bit quicker than the Davanti, but I made a big mistake on my first lap because the tyre just heated out so quickly and gave you no information about what it was doing. It was unpredictable. Usually I would have done a 3rd lap, but the tyre was already too hot, and honestly, subjectively, it was that difficult to drive. It kind of deserves that negativity. The rest of the tyres, well, they were fine. There was basically a big group from Bridgestone to Debica. Now, this is a 17-inch touring summer tyre segment, so none of them are particularly designed to be on track. So I'm not degrading any of them hugely based on their track performance. But this group of tyres, they were all pretty much as you would expect from a touring tyre that's designed more for comfort and low rolling resistance. They all just felt a little bit soft on the steering. Now, the standout of that group was the Debica, actually. I really enjoyed the Debica. And maybe I'm imagining it, but Debica, if you don't know, is a sub-brand of Goodyear. And Goodyear make very good tyres, especially the asymmetric. I'm very sad it's not in this test, couldn't get it in time. But maybe Debica are using some previous generation Goodyear technology. So maybe I'm imagining it. But yeah, enjoyable tyre on track. And then from 5th to 1st was separated by less than 1%, which is incredibly close. Now, speaking of punching above the weight, you had the Maxxis as the fastest tyre around the track, but it didn't have the most grip. So what's going on? Well, the Maxxis was just lovely to drive. It was responsive on the steering. Once you were in the corner, you still had the ability to adjust it. It gave good feedback. And I know a lot of people watch the Tyre Reviews channel really longing for a good value street tyre in below 18 inches that you can actually use on track and have fun with. And honestly, I think this Maxxis might be the new tyre. So if you go out and try it, please let me know by reviewing it on the website or leaving a YouTube comment or messaging me on Instagram. I think this Maxxis might be the new fun 16, 17 inch tyre that you can use on track. As for the rest of them, well, I do want to give a specific nod to the Kumho as well, the Ecsta Sport. I've seen this tested a couple of times and it's had good results. I've seen some reviews saying it's very good subjectively. And yes, it wasn't the fastest, but it might as well have been, it was so close. But the subjective nature of this tyre, even sub-limit, which I'll talk about later, it was excellent. It was a very well balanced tyre, good reactions, good steering, good job by Kumho. Pirelli and Continental were obviously very high grip and very fast, but they did, in this little bubble at the top, they did feel a little bit more touring optimized in that the steering reaction wasn't the very quickest of the group, especially the Continental. There is a slight elasticity to the steering that I'm not a huge fan of on track, but it's not designed to be a track tyre. And also the Hankook was a very nice tyre. So Kumho, Hankook and Maxxis, incredible job. Obviously Pirelli and Continental, their latest and greatest stuff, is always going to have remarkable grip. But if you're looking for this sort of 16, 17 inch fun tyre on track, I would steer more towards the Maxxis, and the Hankook and Kumho are also excellent. So good job by all of them. This has been less than 4 minutes, so good job by me this time. And let's move on with dry braking. Pirelli led dry braking, Continental was a close second with Kumho third. Interestingly, the Maxxis, which did so well in the dry handling test, only placed 9th in dry braking, 7% behind the best. Sadly, I didn't have the time to really dig into the subjective comfort levels of the tyres too much. I did do noise. I did one quick lap of the comfort lanes before going off to dry handling. However, a colleague did run the test a few days earlier to my visit, so I'm using his scoring, which I do trust very much. Overall, if comfort is your focus, the Michelin Primacy 5 is the best choice, which we've seen before, and the Debica is also a solid all-rounder. Though the Continental does have strong comfort, if not a little bit noisier in the EU label external noise test. Basically, as always, they are all incredibly close. On my brief run around the comfort course, I did find it quite difficult to notice any major differences, even with the firm GTI suspension. The only two tyres that really did stand out in comfort, and not in a good way, was the Goodride, ironically, and the Davanti. But both of these did have the lowest external noise level, so if noise is your thing, they are the tyres to buy. But hopefully by now you've seen enough data not to buy them. The rolling resistance levels of the tyres, or the energy use of the tyres, was another interesting test. For some reason, the Bridgestone had a 10% lead over the next best tyre, which was the Michelin Primacy 5, and that in itself was nearly 10% better than the average of the rest of the tyres. There are clearly some different opinions on what kind of levels of rolling resistance this category of tyre should have, and that does also explain Bridgestone's relatively weak wet grip, as low rolling resistance and good wet grip are opposing performance qualities. You can see the rolling resistance differences calculated on the Tyre Reviews website, linked in the description. There's also a fuel use calculator there now to show you exactly what these numbers mean. The reality of rolling resistance data and the real world fuel usage is actually closer than you would imagine. As for the overall results, I've used the standard score weighting I've always used for this category of tyres to keep it fair and consistent. But as always, you can go back to the Tyre Reviews website and adjust the score weighting for your own driving needs, e.g. if you would prefer more comfort biased tyres or lower rolling resistance or better wet grip. You can go and do that. I've actually improved this functionality a lot in the past few months, so it's well worth checking out, and leave a review while you're there. I did start this video asking whether cheap tyres are now good enough to replace premium options, and at least in the case of the Davanti Protoura Sport, the answer is a resounding no. It was impressive in one regard, and that was consistency. Sadly for the tyre, it was consistently last in 6 of the tested metrics, one place from last in 4 of the tested metrics, but it did have an okay rolling resistance and excellent external noise levels, so it's got that going for it. The big issue was getting the car stopped, where in both the dry and the wet it was significantly behind even the next worst tyre. one to avoid based on this data alone. The next worst tyre was the Goodride Solmax 1, which did finish significantly ahead in the score weighting. However, like the Davanti, it finished near the back of the pack in almost every test apart from noise. And it was difficult subjectively too, another tyre to avoid. The next three tyres were separated by just 0.6% overall. The Vredestein Ultrac Plus finished in 10th place. The tyre struggled more than usual in the braking test, where it was around 9% off the best in both the dry and the wet, and it wasn't as balanced as I've previously experienced either. It was good in the deeper water of aquaplaning, and it had a comparatively low rolling resistance, but that doesn't make up for the grip disadvantage. The Debica Presto UUHP2 was let down by its braking performance in the dry and wet, though it was very good in the deeper water of aquaplaning, having the best curved aquaplaning resistance, and it had the best subjective comfort score too. It was a nice steering tyre when warm and is usually priced well. The Maxxis Premitra HP6 standout result was the dry handling test, where it was a nice steering tyre and showed potential to be a well-priced enthusiast product, at least in this size. Its wet braking was only okay, 7th overall, 6.3% behind the best, and it finished 5th in wet handling. It even had above average rolling resistance, even if it wasn't the most comfortable tyre in the test. A good showing overall from Maxxis considering the other tyres in this test. Hopefully it's priced competitively. The Kleber Dynaxer HP5 only standout result was subjective comfort, but it didn't really have any major weaknesses either, finishing mid-pack in almost every test. I think a solid all-round performance like the Kleber had is worth celebrating, and if you can find this tyre for a good price, it would be an interesting proposition. Next up was the Kleber's cousin, the Michelin Primacy 5, which has clearly focused on low energy use and good noise and comfort levels. Sublimit, as always, the Michelin was a lovely steering tyre, but I would like to see a little bit more wet grip from the French manufacturer, but it is hard not to recommend this product for an energy efficient focused driver. The Kumho Ecsta Sport was another lovely driving tyre, but with the grip to back it up, finishing 3rd overall in dry braking and handling and 4th overall in wet braking and wet handling. It was one of the worst tyres, if not the worst, in the deep water of the aquaplaning test, which cost it a higher finish overall, but otherwise it is a solid product, recommended. The Bridgestone Turanza 6 finishing in 4th place overall does highlight the weakness of my scoring system. Other publications that don't have such an open, transparent scoring system can decide to penalise a tyre in the background that's dragged up by one good overall result, which in this case was the rolling resistance of the Turanza 6. It wasn't that far off the mark in dry and wet braking, but it really struggled in wet handling and even dry handling, and it wasn't great in the deeper water of the aquaplaning test either. The monumental rolling resistance advantage it had over the pack means it finishes in 4th place overall and is definitely the tyre to buy if energy consumption is your primary concern. But in this size, honestly, I'm not thrilled with its wet grip, especially wet handling, so keep that in mind. The Hankook Ventus Evo finishes in a very well-deserved 3rd place overall and is a tyre I highly recommend. Like all of the top 3 tyres, it was a tyre without any major weaknesses. My only grumble would be I'd like a tiny bit more dry braking, and its rolling resistance was relatively high in the group, but other than that, it was just a very strong product, highlighting just how far Hankook have come as a brand. I do now classify Hankook as a premium manufacturer, and I think you should too. As for the top 2 tyres, technically in the scoring system, the Pirelli Cinturato C3 just beat the Continental PremiumContact 7, but it was by such a tiny fraction of a percent that I'm calling them joint test winners. The Continental PremiumContact 7, as always, has outstanding grip in the dry and the wet. It's really hard to fault the tyre's raw grip. It also had excellent comfort levels, although it was a little bit louder on the external noise tests, and its rolling resistance was pretty average. In the real world, the rolling resistance between the top 3 tyres is essentially going to be the same, and if you want the very best grip, the Continental is certainly up there as one of the best. As for the Pirelli Cinturato C3, we've now seen in many tests it can match any tyre in terms of raw grip, having the best overall grip in the dry and pretty much matching the Continental in the wet. It did struggle a little bit more in the deep water of curved aquaplaning, although it was great in straight aquaplaning. Its noise and comfort levels were a tiny amount down on the Continental, and its rolling resistance was a little bit up. But if you're trying to decide between the Pirelli and the Continental, I think the Pirelli is the one to purchase if you value slightly more dynamic handling, and the Continental is the one to purchase if raw grip and comfort are your priority. But honestly, you will be very happy with any of the top 3 tyres. They are all excellent, excellent tyres. As always, please go review your tyres over at tyrereviews.com. It really does help out the channel. Let me know what summer tyres you'll be picking this year. Any questions, please ask below. And as always, safe motoring.